And I'm just sitting here rocking out to Andy Lopez's music. Hey, Andy, how's the Invisible Gardener today? A good Christmas, I hope.
Yes, I really enjoy vacation because I get to be home. I get to play. I get to do have a whole bunch of work in the garden. I'll be planting more stuff. I just planted some carapia. I'm actually literally starting a rock garden because I'm collecting rocks. I found out the hard way I'm not allowed to go off into our forest here and collect rocks. The ranger said, "Nope, you can't take that. You can't. Nope, no rocks. It's against the law. You got to leave them here." I go, "Oh, gee whiz." So I'm trying to find a safe place to smuggle rocks in. Hey, Victor, how you doing, man? I wonder, where's Victor from? Do you know?
No, Victor, where are you from, man? I think you're from the U.S.
U.S. man, U.S. You know, Victor, if you have any questions while we're talking, feel free to ask him on the comment section because it's always been my goal to answer people's questions. I found that to be the best form of entertainment. At the same time, you help people out. Sparks, Nevada. Wow. Sparks, Nevada. Hey, Mad Dog. Hi, all. I like that. Hi, all. That's really good. Pembina Veritar. Oh, that's a cool
Pembina River.
So, if you guys have any questions while we're talking, even if it doesn't have anything to do with the subject, you feel it's important enough that I should talk about, I will immediately answer it because that's what I'm here for, to really answer your questions. I found that to be one of the best ways to help people out because in the long run, I'm not here for fun. Well, I'm here because I like getting 40 million a month. Ken told me I would get 40 million a month, you guys. So
yeah, it's called monopoly money. Yeah.
Well, you didn't tell me there was a monopoly money. I thought it was real money. Gee whiz.
Well, monopoly money is real money. Come on.
So today, I'm not exactly just talking about rock dust. I'm talking about remineralization. So remineralization is always associated with rock dust. Don Weaver is the guy who wrote the book Remineralization, and it's all. I'm in the process of. I'm getting a calendar system that allows people who was going to be guests to actually say when they can do the taping and all that stuff. So, and in our case, it's going to be live, so they can only do it during the time we do the show. But for me, when I do my guests, I tape them and then I play the video on the show, so that way I get more room when more time to do the guests. So,
and that's on the Invisible Gardener YouTube channel.
Right, on the YouTube channel. I have a bunch of stuff going on there you won't believe. Soil health series. I'm also doing From the Soil to the Soul, which is kind of good. A little bit esoteric in there. It allows me to talk about energy and talk about all those things that you people seem to like to talk about. I think it's really cool that you are expanding and talking about all these things in terms of structured water, in terms of how energy relates to plants and pest control. That is really, really cool. And I want to continue on those subjects and talk more about that down the road. I have a whole list of shows. I gave them to you, the list of shows we're going to be doing. Invisible Garden Man. Oh boy, Invisible Garden Man. I haven't been called Invisible Garden in a long. That's another company, Invisible Garden.
Seriously. Well, you're saying it on your nameplate right in front of you there, so you are the Invisible Gardener Man.
Gardener Man.
Playing with the biology is what you're doing, my brother. That's what you're doing.
Playing with the biology. So last time we talked a little bit about energy, about the cosmic rays and stuff, and how that works a little bit. It's very, 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 very amazing the way we live in a sea of energy. And energy and minerals are important. They're related. And I talked a little bit about that time, how they're related. Everything is a frequency. Everything vibrates. And minerals are essentially physical form of energy. And that specific energy, whether it be calcium, iron, mercury, lead. And these things all have specific frequencies that you would think that the mineral, the actual physical part of the mineral is what we want, when in reality what we want is the etherical part of the mineral, the frequency of the mineral. That is what our body uses. And our body ourselves is 99% water, 99 point something water. And so basically we have structured water in our body. That's what, and so the mineralization is important in a lot of aspects. So I always look at it, two aspects of it. One is the physical aspect. Okay, minerals, you're going to get minerals in your body. It helps you to build these things together. But the other aspect is energy. All these things, they form a music. They call it music of the spheres. I call it music because you have one frequency, another frequency, a whole bunch of different frequencies combined to make a song. It's just the same thing with the biology and the soil. You never have one biology taking over the soil. You have a blend of different types of biology, of music that all the plants are doing, or the biology is doing, right? And so it's the same thing with the trace minerals. You never get just one trace minerals. And maybe next month you get another trace mineral that comes in from the universe. No, you always get this blend, amazing blend that is equal to the biology. If your biology is a blend, you're going to get a blend of trace minerals. That's the key. That's the basics of it. And so, in terms of the plant health and growth, I always tell people, all diseases, and it's the same thing with humans. When I talk about diseases, we're talking about plants in the garden, but we also can just close your eyes and go, gee, our body is a garden, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the biology in our body, it's doing the same thing as the biology in the soil. We want an assortment of biology in our bodies, in our stomach, in our brain. We don't want just one. And because we have an assortment of it, we can absorb all this amazing blend of energy, which comes from the minerals.
Or from the chocolate.
The sugar over Christmas. Oh, Lily, silly Lily. I stay away from the sugar, man. I stay away from the chocolate. It's hard to go to parties and people say, what's the matter? You don't like our food? And I would say, well,
no.
No, if you eat junk, you're going to get junk in, junk out. And this sugar is not even real sugar. It's some chemical derivative of sugar. And your body goes, yeah, shoot me up right here. Just shoot me up with this stuff. And so I stay away from it. But it's so, just smelling it, I say, okay, I have to. I just have to get it. And it's very difficult not to eat this stuff because a lot of times I'll say, I'm just going to nibble, right? Is this going to take one? Next thing you know,
never. Yeah, one little nibble is never enough.
What the heck? And for days afterwards, I'm literally drunk. Literally, you have to talk about hangover, and I go, holy cow! If I only had a piece of that bar, and I've been having a hangover. It's the same thing with booze. I cannot handle even tiny little sip because it makes too much sugar in my system, and I do not like chemical sugar. I love fruit. I'll eat apples, peaches, pears, plums, those things.
Yeah, natural sugar.
I love the natural sources of sugar, dates, raisins. Those things are good. But when you have and sugar, it's really interesting too. The chemical form of sugar, it actually causes mineral depletion in your body.
Why does that not surprise me at all, Andy?
It does two things. One is that your body thinks is a source of protein. Well, I'm going to use, if I can't get the protein, I'm going to use the sugar for protein. Mm-hmm. And when it does that, it's not getting a blend of all the minerals. They're going to be deficient of variety of minerals already that you're getting. And then it's going to be even worse because your body's not going to be able to absorb the minerals, the sugar. It's the same thing in plants. The difference in plants is that it's not the sugar that's the toxic, it's the nitrogen that's the toxic. So you have high nitrogen, and all of a sudden your plants cannot absorb. And nitrogen does the same thing. It inhibits the processing of minerals. And the relationship is really interesting because when you think about what does sugar do to your body and what does nitrogen do to the plants, right? You can automatically get the answer. It's just freaks your body out. It freaks the plant's body out. It goes like, whoa, wow, oh, rush, run. Yes. So it's that's exactly what it does to the plants.
Right. Okay. So that's an interesting way to put it. I know calcium. If you throw calcium in there, it's actually one of the master controllers of the whole
Right.
structure and how everything is put together.
Right, exactly right. Calcium is. I learned a long time ago that if you can have all the trace minerals, and if you're missing calcium, those trace minerals, majority of them are not going to become available to your body. They're not. They're
Mhm.
not going to be able to be absorbed. It goes through a whole entirely different process, and then you start to die because your body needs the calcium. The sugar dampens your immune system. That's why people get sick after special high because of over. Dampens is a very gentle word to use. It's a very. It actually drugs you out. So you can say it dampens your senses. Cocaine dampens your senses a little bit. Yeah, right. You see what I mean? And so it is a rock tumbler. Can I use? Wait. I missed that part. Can I try rock tumbler? Can I use the water in my grow? Yes.
Yes and no. Let's be very specific. If you're not testing those rocks, you could be getting the wrong type of things in there. That's why you test it with a vinegar. If it starts to bubble, you don't want that rock in your system.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was just going. Why are you using water in your tumbler? Because you tumble it with the water in it, right? You tumble
Yeah.
your rocks in the water, and
Yeah.
it depends on. It really does depend on the rocks. I was thinking more of minerals. You have these stones that are made of
Yeah.
minerals and stuff like that. Mineral, then it won't be. But if it's if the rocks are because the rocks are like rock dust. One of the biggest problems about rock dust is very alkaline.
Mm-hmm.
Very alkaline. So people don't understand that it's supposed to be trace minerals. So you add too much, it changes the alkalinity of the water, which then it will affect the alkalinity of the soil. And without the pH being in the right range, well, first of all, you're not going to have the biology in the right there for it, and therefore
Yeah.
you're not going to have the minerals that you need.
So
And
have you ever done any testing on rocks? Like I know from the studying that I've done, people were using the white vinegar, and if it was bubbling, there was I can't remember which component was in the rock to make it bubble. And if it didn't bubble, then you could use the rocks. But I can't remember which
it's
component
phosphorus,
it is.
probably. It's probably
Yeah.
phosphorus. But see, the rocks are one of the things about rocks is that they could have a wide range of minerals in it. It's not that no usually it's
Mhm.
just not one form. The exception of, for example, soft rock phosphate. That's all it
Yeah.
is in there. You see, but most rock dust are a blend of crushed minerals that have been crushed over centuries, and this is what they have. It depends on their environment, how the rock dust was made. Uh,
Yeah.
you know,
Processing.
so here in Southern California, one of the favorite rock dusts I use is called alluvium clay, and it comes from San Diego, where they have the hot mud baths. So it's an
Okay.
underground thing, got really super hot. It created this mud as opposed to rocks. Whereas Mount St. Helena, a volcano will create rocks in a different way, than minerals in a different way. Some of it would go up as ashes in the air and spread around the world. Others would be rocks that gets thrown out. And each rock can
Yeah.
be different according to the area of the world that it comes from. That's what's really cool about it. And I could normally wait thousands of years for that minerals to get to me, because normally it would do that. The earth would figure out ways to spit it out and
Yeah.
transfer it. Even
On
animals.
the dust.
Exactly. And one of the ways that I like the minerals gets transferred is from animal manure. But I want to answer
Mhm.
the question about uh, how do I test rocks? Well, the easiest way to test rocks is to crush it into a powder and test it for if it's an alkaline or an acid to start with. The
Mhm.
other way that you can test rocks, you actually can send it off to a lab and they'll tell you all the different, because you have to. There's literally so many different combinations of minerals in rocks that depend. A lot of times when you get the rocks, you may act. So when I go to places and buy because I know I go to a couple of mining places. I said, "You have a lab report for your stuff." And they give you a lab report, and that tells you
Yep.
a lot of stuff. The pH right off the bat, how much calcium. The soft rock. Well, for example, the rock dust that I get from Southern California is called agromin, agromin. And it's 30% calcium.
Hmm.
So that's what's so cool about it. Azomite is 3% calcium.
And remember, on whatever you're doing, like you're talking about watering that in, um, how much is actually in there? The dust. Are you over? You want to keep the balance. So I wouldn't think that you would want to water it directly in to your system.
So
Um, yeah,
here's what I learned about adding rock dust to your soil or to your plants. You don't want to do that. Literally, you don't want to add it directly. You want to really add it to the soup. You want to add it to the biology. If you have a liquid you make, like you have compost tea, right? Which is the easiest way to one of the easiest way to use the biology is to make compost tea. Well, you add a little bit of the rock dust to that liquid.
hmm,
You can either suspend it and like make a tea bag out of it, let it sit in there. And usually the law, remember, don't be a moron. Usually the law of the little
yeah,
there is where you want to go. You want to put a little bit on a regular basis rather than a lot. So you have
yeah.
to go a lot. You have to take the homeopathic method. So in 100 gallons of my tea that I make, I if I add a cup of rock dust, is too much. A cup
Hmm.
would be too much because it would literally make the water too alkaline for use. So
Yeah.
so what I do is it's the normal the way you make homeopathic medicine is you make a batch and then you dilute that 1,000%, then you dilute that another 1,000%. You keep diluting it till you get a very tiny amount of that product. You would think it doesn't work, but it does work because you can
Hmm.
actually look it up and you can send it to a lab in the water. They'll tell you how much is in that little bit of water, or you can put your litmus paper in there to see it change, or look through it
Yeah.
through a microscope. You'll see the particles in there, and so it has to be on a very tiny level on a regular basis. That's the way Mother Nature does it. In other words, it has to be pre-digested. We have to
Yeah.
eat things that are pre-digested. So too, when you get rocks, you have to digest the rocks. You have to get the biology to already
To
go at
do
the
it.
rocks. So
Yeah.
then you can start using it. So I make a 5 gallons of the. I have my liquid. I get my seaweed. We have a show coming up on how I make my super seaweed. So
Oh,
basically,
cool.
I get a variety. It's in your list I gave you. I give you a variety. I get a variety of different things that have different kinds of biology to different sources of trace minerals. Right. On one hand, you got the
Hmm.
biology, a blend of different kinds of biology, whether it be mycorrhiza, whether it be whatever the different types of names of the bio of the microbes, enzymes, and all those things. You want to get a really really amazing blend.
A
It's not like
balance.
yeah, it's just that it has to be balanced out in such a way, and you only do that from practice, from learning, from practice, because some things are so concentrated that you know you got to go just a little, and you can tell when you do that because if you often the plants can either get burned, they react in a really weird way,
Hmm.
it changes the pH too fast, so
Yeah.
you I in the 5 gallon container I would add maybe a cup.
I don't even know. I think Andy, the best advice that I could give fighting the evil would be, do a test grow where do like the 1 cup. I think would be way more than you would need. I think do different segments, do the testing yourself because it's your material that you're using, and you're going to have to do that testing and do small amounts and test it on your grow and see if you can start seeing a toxicity, then back off. Right? I think
So
that would
what I
be
do,
a good
so what
thing.
I do is I don't use so in this 5 gallons mixture, I take I take a quart of that liquid, a quart of that liquid. I add it. I then add it to a gallon of another liquid. and that liquid could be just plain water. And I bubble that gallon up again. And then I take that gallon, I add that into 100 gallons. So it's a very, very small amount
Yeah.
that I end up getting. I learned from experience that you can easily F things up because you once you spray it and you give it to the plant, you go, well, that's too much. So you want to lean on the smaller size. You want to go smaller and smaller with the amounts that you put out on a regular basis. And a lot of the plants, it depends on the plants, it depends on the environment, it depends on your soil, it depends on a lot of things that how much you want to be giving this. So trace minerals is really important not to overdo it because
that's why they call them trace minerals.
That's why they call it trace minerals. Otherwise, it becomes toxic. It becomes toxic minerals. So
now, would you put the rock dust through your worm bin or just directly into your living soil?
Right. No. So the worms, I don't give them any rock dust at all. I found that it's just too hard on these guys. They can't handle it after a while. They just die off. No matter, even if it's just like take a tablespoon. So I find that the only way that I could do that is to I can combine the rock dust with the enzymes, and those things are easier enough to combine with. That they don't care. But the living microbes. For example, if you put C90, it will kill the microbes if you add just a little bit too much.
Yeah,
just a little bit too much. It's like salt; it will just destroy them. So you have to. So what I do is I have a 100-gallon unit, and in that gallon unit has filtered water, and then that's the place where things get bubbled, get mixed in together. But it's a tiny, small amount of the rock dust. The C90, I add maybe a tablespoon to 100 gallons.
Okay? Yeah, not very damn much. And
exactly
are you using the C90 for the trace minerals, Andy, or are you adding additional trace minerals above the C90?
No. The rock dust. So I've learned from experience to get trace minerals from as many different sources as possible.
Yeah,
C90 is one source. Rock dust are like a whole bunch of, there are literally 14 different sources that I get it from, the rock dust. And even then, I still buy Dr. Willard's water, Willard water, W-A-L, like the duck, Willard duck. Was that Millard duck? Willard. It's not a duck. That's Millard, right? Willard. Is there a Willard duck?
Willard? Willard water. I vaguely something says yes.
But he's from Canada.
Well, then he's a good bye.
And he makes mineralized water for human consumption.
Okay.
And I use it for plants anyway. So I have a couple of different sources. Then I buy another source of a liquid mineral in my refrigerator for human consumption. Too, they're just made slightly different the way they're made. And then I also buy. So those are some of the sources of trace minerals that I get, and then I blend them together. And then redilute them again. Redilute and redilute. I like getting minerals from plants, but I have to have a source of plants to be able to get it from. It's a tough one to have. If you live on a farm, that's what you do. You grow some plants, you process the plants, and you get the biology and the minerals from the plants. That's why the compost process, which is another source of minerals, because when you're making compost, you want to have plants. Different kinds of plants to go in there, and when they decompose, they will provide the minerals as well. So you have a bunch of different sources. Plant-based minerals is really very good. Animal manure is another source of minerals because their body's producing all kinds of minerals in that manure. And
since they're eating plants, really, it's plant-based minerals.
Exactly right. So the animals
they're
processing that too. They get that through them. So I'm glad you brought that up because if you can't get the plants, let the animals get the plants and you use their manure because they're processing the plants at perfect. And then it depends on the animal that you're getting from. There's a big difference between minerals from a horse manure and minerals from a cow manure, for example. Big difference. Big difference. They have a different type of stomach. They process it differently. And so the minerals are more available from the cow manure. Actually, the bull, cow, those kinds of creatures that have big, massive stomach. Elephant manure works really, really good for sources of minerals. And even goats. they're smaller, but because they're different. So the minerals is important, but you want to get it in a very, very slow amount. That's one of the process. That's one of the problems that people have with remineralizing the soil. They dump too much into the soil, and then it becomes toxic, and it takes a long time to clean it out.
Well,
Things
you
get
look at
burned
your
up.
farmer doing a soil test, and it comes back, okay, I need to add 10 pounds per acre of calcium or 2 pounds per acre. And so it's a very small amount, on a broad field. We try to stuff it all into a 5-gallon pot to grow a house plant.
Right.
And it's no wonder we're burning the plants.
Right, and then it's very stressful, especially with homeowners when they go buy something, and they heard about trace minerals, so they go buy a product. And if you were to read the product, it was very clear. It says use 1 per 100 gallons, or no, they just dumped the whole thing in there. And they figured trace minerals is the more the better, and it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So that's a big problem when you're dealing with minerals and plant nutrition. Is that it's the same thing with the human body. You can only put so much minerals in your body, then it becomes toxic.
And then you get sick, just like your plants do. Now, have you used pea urine? Can be used too from the animals. Like I know a dairy barn, they collect their basically liquid waste, and they actually have a worm farm out the back end where they're spraying it and feeding the worms and getting the worm castings. That's the food source.
Right. So the pea it's like a pre-processed for you. So they get their there are minerals in there, but it's also all types of biology. It's a concentrated form, peas, so you have to dilute it. You have to learn how much to dilute it to use, because it will burn your plants. But if you use it lightly, you will find it's very, very. When I lived on a farm, I always used all types of animal pee.
Well, considering a cow pees on the grass in the field, the grass doesn't grow, or it doesn't die, I should say. Know.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. So there are different types of. That's why in a farm you'll find many different types of animals. A farm that does really well, micronized minerals. Exactly right. That means that it become available to. They're processed in such a way that you can use a little bit of them, and it goes a long way.
Plant available.
So
I should say biology available.
The whole process, and that's why humic acid comes into it, helps process minerals. So you eventually learn things that would help to process the minerals as opposed to just dumping it around. It doesn't do any good to dump rock dust down the soil, even if it has biology, because you're just going to destroy it. And so that's so the role of minerals in plant nutrition is a very important process. And there's two reasons why I say it's important. Like I said, the minerals help you to build their bodies, help them to be alive, to do that, the essence. But what they really, just as important, is they provide the energy to the electromagnetic fields needed for the body to process all of it and transmit energy. Because that's what it is. We transmit energy. Even if an animal will be sending signals or cells, the DNA structure relies on the energy it gets from the trace minerals. Our DNA structure, animals' DNA structure, the human brain, the neurosystem of our bodies, the neurosystem of the plants rely on being able to use this energy. You don't have this energy, the neurosystem shuts down. It differentiates humans. If humans didn't think very much, there's not much for humans. Undiluted, unadulterated, 100% moron. I'm not sure. What does that mean?
He says that he's a moron. He's gonna throw it on and throw it on and throw it on.
Yeah.
We gotta love him for it. Anyway, we had Jeff. I use rock dust and scoria fines and 14 millimeter scoria. Are you familiar with scoria?
What's scoria?
Okay. I was gonna ask. I'm asking you, and then I'm not sure what scoria is. So, Jeff, help us out here, brother.
Scoria is probably something that they find in his environment.
Could be, yeah.
In New Jersey, they have green sand, which is a form of minerals. It's very,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
nice, a nice mineral source. And there, every place where you live, if you look around, you're going to find a source of minerals. And usually those minerals are very good for the local environment, and they should have all the trace minerals you need. But then again, Mother Nature is not exactly doing a good job now because she can't. When we have
Lava rock.
lava rock, see, lava rock, and that tells you right off the bat how it's made. See,
Yeah.
and so lava rock is the heat that it goes through. It literally gets all these trace minerals, melts them together, forms this amazing product you can take and you can crush down into a very fine product. If you test it, you're going to see that wide assortment of minerals because it collects the lava down deep in the earth. It will collect, and they're very different. The lavas in Mount St. Helen will be different than the lava coming on in the Japan or in the South Sea Islands or some other place. It's just being a goofball throwing off the show, though. Yeah, it's okay, man. I like goofballs. I used to be called a goofball.
Well, we're a couple of goofballs ourselves, so he fits right in around here.
So, for me, I find that people really have a hard times with trace minerals. They have a hard time in their bodies, and they have a hard time in the soil. They just don't get it. And it's just like when you go buy a fertilizer, you're taught that nitrogen is better. You concentrate on the nitrogen, and it does look. Your plant they look good. They're green. They grow really big, but it's same thing with the human body. It may look good. It just depends on how you what you see. Because when I see people, I see them super stressed out. I see that they're like when you know what it is when you retain water. Well, salt's a mineral also.
Yeah,
and it's natural salt. We need that for to process our electricity in our bodies. Very important.
Yeah.
But the chemical version of salt does not do that.
Yeah, table salt doesn't do that.
No, it does not do it. Then it says deiodinized. What does it mean? Well, they took out so many things out from the salt. There's nothing in it. Then they try to put it back in again that we made, and it's not the same thing. Your body says, "What the heck are you giving me now?" Right? It's the same thing with the plant. They say, "What the heck are you giving me now? This is something that I am not going to be able to absorb." And unfortunately, you have to eat it because sometimes you get hungry, and therefore you end up with an imbalance in your body, imbalance in the soil.
Yeah.
A lot of times, what people really need to do is to back away from adding anything to it other than biology and let the biology sort things out. But in the long run, you have to eat and you have to try to eat a balanced diet. So it's a trick to come up with sources of minerals that once it's easy to come up with rock dust. You can go buy tons of rock dust from all over the place, but you have to learn how to go about the log a little bit. You have to learn how to get just a little bit on a regular basis, and you have to learn how to blend these different sources. It's good to blend different sources because Mother Nature does that. Anyway, basalt and glacial rock dust are really, really very good. They're both very, very high in a specific type of electromagnetic energy, very high in paramagnetism. One of the things that's very important about glacial rock dust is how the Earth. That's why it's called glacial, because the glaciers, when you have an ice age, will roam the Earth and crush everything down, crush it all below. When they will go back, you have all these rocks that have been crushed. And
sand
spreads it throughout the world, like So it's here in for example, in the United States, the glacial rock dust will cover, and it will be like thousands of feet deep. A rock glacier.
The ice.
Yeah, the ice, right. And at the very bottom, you have this fine powder that gets crushed up.
Mm-hmm.
And that normally happens on a regular basis. Therefore, we shouldn't have to worry about trace minerals. It should be everywhere. The trace minerals should be everywhere. But at the same time, we're doing things we're not supposed to be doing. We're destroying the structure of the soil. We're destroying the biology of the soil. So the minerals may be there. They're locked up and they're not available because the biology is not there. And then we have
or the biology just isn't there that can actually extract those minerals
right.
out of what's there to give them to the plant. But question, C90 for cooking.
Yeah, right. You can use C90. Again, you have to remember trace minerals. So you
Don't
only
overdo it in your own body.
exactly. So cooking will be like, okay, so you don't want to use C90s all the time because it's really rich, very, very strong, and very high in iodine, very high in a lot of other minerals that you normally will get in the very sparingly. So I would use it not so much for cooking, but for medicine.
Yeah.
So maybe once a month you can take a teaspoon of C90, add it to a quart of water, stir it up, and drink it, as opposed to every time you cook. So you
Well,
want to get
see, and
different.
I use a reverse osmosis water, so I'm pulling everything out of it, and then I just put a sea salt back into it to give me those micronized nutrients and the minerals in that little bit of salt. Because like I'm putting in 20, 30 granules of salt, in my drinking water.
Right. There. So I have a bunch. I have 4 or 5 different types of sea salts, which I think are really good. I do muscle testing on them. They all rate very high. They all rate high, and the energy. I call it how they conduct energy. And sometimes it's good to get sea salt from one place, use that for a little bit, and then use another source of sea salt just to get the blend in that you normally would get. But C90 is not. It can be used for humans, and they have a version of it for animals and a version of it for humans. But you got to go really, really. You can't cook with it. If you do that every day, you're going to end up getting too much. It's going to be overburdened on your kidney, on your liver. They're going to go, could we stop with the minerals now for a while? We're getting way too much. That's what happens if you get too much minerals. Hydrated, drinking water alone is not enough. It has to be with salt. Exactly right. And you have to get the right kind of salt. That's not the man-made kind of salt. So when I drink water, I add a pinch of salt, and I have, like I said, I got 3 or 4 different varieties of salt. I'll just go like this. Oh, I want to use that variety. I have something from North Korea, believe it or not, which is really very good. I have some from Asian sea beds. C90 is basically from an Asian sea salt bed.
Yeah.
See, there's no chemicals in it at all whatsoever, but it's a really heavy, super concentrated. So again, you don't really want to cook with it, but if you and drinking, if you're going to use C90, I go out all the time on a regular basis. I actually take it from the bucket. Maybe it's just a little pinch to put in my mouth, and that's all I need. Maybe once a week, something like that. That's all I really need to do. I don't need. But when I drink water, I have a different kind of salt that I add to it, which I internally feel it's beneficial for me. And there's this really cool pink salt that you may know of. It's a pink variety of salt.
Himalayan sea salt.
Himalayan sea salt. There you go. Right, exactly right. And
you mean
pretty good. Yes.
This stuff right here?
Yeah, right. Himalayan sea salt. There you go. Right.
You can get it the reading.
Not much from that company, but yeah, I can hardly see it. I can see your thumb.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's just not coming through very well, but yeah, it's pink Himalayan sea salt.
Right, and so that's really good because your body needs those electrolytes, so to speak, that be able to do the end. And the same thing with the plants. So that's why C90 is very good to be sprayed onto plants because they'll get the salt, they'll get the elements that come in the salt. 90, it's called C90 for a reason. It's 90 trace minerals, and in the right proportion. That is, you don't have too much of any one thing or another. If you test it, you'll see it has gold, mercury, lead. It has even the stuff you think is bad. It's in there as part of it. That's one reason why if you do too much of it, you could get toxic poisoning from any of these things you're not supposed to be getting too much of. Your body does not know what to do with it. Same thing with plants. It doesn't know what to do with all this different toxins that it's getting in the system. There are other ways to get minerals, but I don't want to get too fancy on it. But I had talked the last time about I talked about the Hieronymus device, which is basically a device you put in your soil, remember? And if you want to transfer minerals to the whole property, you put the minerals in there. So the minerals, each mineral has a certain frequency and a certain sound, and can be transmitted over an area. And if your body hears it, or you hear it, or the plants hear it, or the soil hear it. Just the frequency triggers that same result as if they were actually getting the minerals. Because the minerals, what they do is they trigger. There's certain frequency that triggers in the body things to happen. So when you have it present in your body, it triggers the ability to make more to use calcium, or the ability to expand your brain waves, so to speak, or your body, your heart. Your whole system is electromagnet. The whole system is a bunch of different magnetic fields that are working together.
Positive and negative energy, ions and protons and neutrons.
Exactly right. So like in the atom, how it's rotating, all of that is going on in our body, and we're very sensitive in the soil too. I mean, it's all together. It's not a coincidence that we are the soil, right? And the soil is us, and the plants. We're all in one big mishmash of energy, and the trace minerals is the key to it. And there are so many different systems in nature that key into making those minerals available for us. The soil biology is just one system that's there. It's why getting your water from fruits is good for you. Exactly right. It's why getting your water from fruits, etc., like watermelon, is good for you. It's already in your farm. The body can use. Exactly right. Exactly. That's why I love making carrot juice. I love making any type of from apple juice. You don't even have to make the juice. You eat the things, right? You're getting the juice right already when you're eating and chewing it. So that's very important, and they're minerals. And so people don't correlate the fact that if you're having a mineral deficiency, you're going to have a pest or disease, whether it be in your body, whether it be in the plant, right? Andy, check Woodsmith's Mind Policy 4 in the Northeast UKNU Super Mine. I wonder, is it a rock dust mine? Is it a source of minerals? Is a new mine for that? I think that may be
Northeast UK.
Right, and I might I'll come back and listen. I watched the show again, so I'll figure out where that is. It's it depends if they go into selling. You can buy it online from them. Sometimes they do that. You can buy it online. Most of the time, you'll be lucky to be living in the area. You can go get it. It's hard to, but you always want to get a source of minerals that is in your local area. But then again, that's silly because you're not from that area. You could be from Montana, living in New York, right? See, you would think you get in your local. That would be true if people didn't. They stayed. They're born and lived and died in the same area. They would be able to use it. That's good for them. But because we're such a mishmash all around the world, you're going to be getting the minerals from wherever you can, and just start learning how to use that. And that's very important too, because the insects are keyed into this, and they can't function outside of that area. They can't say fuck it, excuse me. They can't say we're going to do that anyway, attack you even if you don't have the minerals, if you do have the minerals. And so that's an important issue that people have to understand. And it's so simple. I have a customer that says, well, I buy organic vegetables, and I should be able to get all the trace minerals from my organic vegetables. Unfortunately, what they need to do is they need to actually talk to the farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so where are you getting your trace? Oh, it's already in the soil. Okay. Do you have a lab report that shows your minerals? And if they do, oh, good, great, yeah, because it could be in the soil, right? It should be in the soil.
Should be
in the soil. It should be there, and the biology is there. They'll break it up. But quite often you'll find that, first of all, they don't have really good soil. That means that the stuff is like dead, and so it's not. The minerals are in there, but the biology is not there to break it down. The plants may look good, but they don't have the biology. And you can tell when you talk to them, and they'll say, well, I only have a few problems. I may have white flies. I usually spray for this. Organic, of course, I spray this for organic.
Yeah.
So whenever you have a problem, it tells you right off the bat. So I was talking to some people a few days ago. They have a growing session to talk about, and they say, well, we're doing really great, but we do have white flies, we have powdery mildew, we have a bunch of other things, but we spray neem oil.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things they spray. And they said, well, what can we do that's better? And I said, well, you're missing some trace minerals right off the bat. That means your biology. I said, well, so you're throwing away the soil your plants are growing in, starting with new soil again. Maybe you should consider doing the opposite, keeping the soil, making the soil as the deep potash and phthalate mine located, polyhalate. Polyhalate. Holy cow! I just learned a new word.
And he's saying that is the one. So
and that's cool. So the phosphate, especially if it's mined, it's a really good source of it. But again, you have to learn really small amount. And the way what you say is really makes a lot of sense. Test it out first on a few plants.
Yeah, always.
And see what happens. And see what happens. If after a while the plants are doing fine, well, I guess I did okay. Or they will show signs whether they'll get burned or they'll be malformed, right? The fruit could be malformed, funny shape, or the flowers could be malformed. There's lots of different things. The structure of it, the plants could be curled up. So they'll tell you something's wrong, and then you go, well, I guess And the problem with there is you can't really just start flushing the soil out. Hopefully it'll go away because you'll kill the plant in the process. So you have to hope that you didn't do too much damage and just increase the biology more. Just give it more of the worm juice so that the biology can maybe work it out, But it's the same thing with diseases. There are lots and lots of diseases nowadays, from phytophthora to vermiculite, all these different types of plant diseases and human disease, and they all have the same thing in common, and that's the trace mineral deficiency. And it's really easy to provide you with yourself and your plants with the trace minerals. It's so easy because we have so many different sources of it that we can tap into. Even seaweed alone, it's got 70 different types of trace minerals in there already to use. That's why kelp is so good. Kelp is a really good source of trace minerals, and the biology of the kelp is amazing. You can actually, people grow it. You can grow the kelp yourself. I get a product called Suncorella, which is for people.
I've got it upstairs.
And the Suncorella is an amazing product. It gives me all the lots and lots of different sources of trace minerals again. You see different sources of trace minerals that your body goes, oh, good, let's use that. Iodine. The only thing it doesn't have is vitamin C in it, right? So you get the vitamin C from a different source. What's interesting too is that trace minerals also helps to build soil structure.
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense. Minerals to build.
Well, the biology needs it to build their bodies, and to create glomalin to stitch the dirt together.
Right.
Yeah, it's you have to have that.
And then they're building it with a mineral that has also energy. It has a specific energy, which also allows the body. And I think that I really believe that the biology goes for this energy. They love this environment, and it produces more of the biology for them.
Well, yeah, it's like human beings. The mother needs enough nutrients to grow the child. It's the same with the biology. There has to be those nutrients in the that they have available to them to build their next layer of biology and the next layer. And considering biology, some of it lives for hours, some lives for weeks, but when you're cycling a life cycle that fast, those need to be there. But I just wanted to point out, Victor had a question. Have you ever tried fossilized kelp?
I have never run across. Well, I have run across fossilized kelp, fossilized seaweed, and fossilized sea creatures. I have never tried crushing them down to a powder to use, but you will find that they're probably very rich in a variety of trace minerals. It's good to have it tested because it could be really super rich in one particular mineral, which could make it toxic or it could make it very, very, very valuable. Because the
Well, I
more
would think the fossilized kelp at least wouldn't have the nuclear waste in it,
right,
from the things that have happened in our lifetimes, right?
right, the nuclear waste, that's another issue all by itself because the microbes. There are microbes that will go through nuclear waste. There are microbes. Oh, I know calcine. Yeah, is that what that is?
There
Wow.
you go, Andy.
No,
See, Victor, thank you. You taught Andy something today.
I didn't know that calcine was fossilized kelp because that's one of my rock dust sources because
Right
it's
on.
still in the powdered form. I should look it up again because I didn't realize that it was. That's what it is. Right. Yeah, and it's really wonderful. It has a wide range of trace minerals. It has at least 90 different trace minerals. And what's cool is that none of them are in the toxic form in Nevada. Exactly right. And it's very, very useful. And it's a local. Ideally, because of shipping costs and stuff, anything you find in the United States is better than, say, if you get it in Africa and you have to ship it across the country, across the world. I've tried doing that. I've given up because it gets too expensive to ship. I could maybe ship a pound, say, give me a pound
Yeah.
of this and a pound of that. But in the United States, I can get about 7 different types of rock dust. Calcine is one of them. That's mine is another one. Glacial rock dust is another.
Yeah.
Is another one. There are a couple of other ones. Soft rock phosphate. And so you want to get those blends, and you blend them together, and then use a tiny amount of that. And the amount is up to what depends on the plants you're growing, the environment you're growing in, the condition, what kind of water you're using, whether it's filtered water or if you're using city water. Because if you're using city water, the rock dust becomes even more toxic. It reacts with it. There's a reaction that's not good. This filtered water is very, very good for that. Reverse osmosis is very good for that because you know what you're getting in the water, and then you want to make that. You want to learn how much to dilute it. That's the whole key to it. Too much, you're in trouble. Not enough, you're not doing it. I think you can never say not enough because you can add a tiny amount, and you think this is so tiny, it's not doing anything. But you'd be surprised at how effective a tiny amount of this mineral-rich product given to the biology will go. And it's mind-blowing because, like I said, 1 tablespoon, I add it to a quart of water. Then I add that quart of water to my liquid, my super seaweed that the microbes go through it. It takes about a month. It changes consistency. It changes everything. The smell changes. I take a cup of that. I add it to 100 gallons of water, clean water, and I bubble that for 15 minutes. But I would love to be able to have a microscope that will look in the water while it's bubbling. You can look through it and see if it builds, how they multiply, how they do more and more. You get more of it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Real time process, real time when you see that, because I learned that it's doesn't. So Michelle says, "Well, how come only 15 minutes? What happens in 5 minutes? What happens?" So one day I bubbled it for overnight, and as soon as I went in the garage, I go, "Oh boy!" It was just too active. You could smell it. It had changed from a nice smell to rock to okay, who died kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
the biology.
Yeah.
Killed the biology.
It was like way too. They wanted to expand and were limited to 100 gallons.
Yeah.
That particular liquid would have been very useful to combat certain diseases because you want them in that stage when there's a disease and you inject it into the soil.
Yeah.
And at that point, the biology of the liquid will overcome the biology in the soil of the disease and knock it out. That's one reason why they teach how to use manure tea, for example.
Yeah.
Because manure tea is one of the few places, animal manure, that you can get a wide range of biology in the tea. You get so many different. Because one of my things in school, the teacher said, "It's nitrogen. It's nitrogen. It's no different." I go, "Well, tell the plants that." 5400. It's a big difference in 222 with endless numbers behind it because you have a wide, amazing range of all these different. And it's not just nitrogen by itself, you get trace minerals, you get biology with it, you get all kinds of organisms, right? They're all
Yeah.
in there. It makes a big difference. And then just have 6400 that you do.
So what is your opinion on kelp having high amounts of sodium and arsenic?
Okay, so if all kelp has been increasing over the years. It's been more and more of this happening, not just sodium and arsenic, but cadmium, mercury,
Yeah.
lead. It's gotten more and more and more and more. And so that's one reason why you don't want to bathe in it, let alone drink it. And we're giving it to our plants. That's one reason why you want to filter this stuff out, because your body and the biology can only handle so much of this stuff. And it's not really, it's meant, these are, arsenic is one of the exotic, it's supposed to be exotic, not the primary one.
Yeah.
There, it's supposed to be exotic. It's supposed to be found in parts per million, something like that, parts per billion, right? But now, so it's way too much happening there. You don't want to even stick your hand in it because it absorbs it through your skin. I definitely don't want to be spraying it, using it in your garden. You have to filter it out, and that's why you have to be real. Water it's going to be a big issue. So it's better if you can filter out the water and then use the water, right? So there are lots of really good filtration systems on the market now that will totally clean it 99%, get rid of almost all those things. There might be a few things left in there, but not as much as you don't really want that. You don't, in my opinion, you don't really want that. And he didn't even mention what happens with medicine when medicine gets into the water.
Yeah. But I think one of the best ways to answer his question would be, know your source and be able to look at their testing, and if they're selling you a kelp product and they're not testing it, don't buy it. Look at the testing. Is it high in these things? And that's part of your responsibility, because that is more of a problem now, especially in this industry.
Right. That's exactly it. When I buy, so it took me a long time to find this one kelp source. And so we tested. You can see our lab work that we do, the whole 10 yards. And whereas other sources, they don't even mention that at all. They don't say anything. Just here's your source of kelp. And you know that it's going to be toxic.
Test hot.
You know it's going to be toxic. And your body will know that too. If you know how to do kinesiology, it'll tell you, no. You'll be surprised how often your body can pick it out.
Do you have a show set up on kinesiology? I think that's one that we should probably do, is go more in depth on, how to do that and how, or the meaning and the reason behind it. But we've got one more question here I want to get to. So what about using basalt and decomposed granite? It's my understanding that they are paramagnetic. Does that have any particular effect on the soil microbiology?
Yes, right. So the reason why it's called paramagnetic is because this is what's found in nature. This is how Mother Nature has devised a way to attract the minerals together and into our bodies. And all living things, the soil biology will collect or gather. They would rather live in a paramagnetic environment than not. So one of the things I do, I have tree vents, and so I call them tree vents. These are clay drain pipes. I found out that the clay is paramagnetic. There are different ways to test for that, to find out if it's paramagnetic. And I found that the biology, which goes straight to the paramagnetic rocks, because they need this specific type of energy. Remember, when the energy passes through the earth, what about using, that's the same way. When the energy passes through the earth, you want to have, this is a system that holds it. The paramagnetism is what holds it. You did a show called, what is the difference between a particle and a wave?
Yeah.
Well, paramagnetism bridges both of them. Magnetism is the wave. The clay is the particle.
Well, you look at when Leighton talks about the clay platelets and how they're basically a round disc. but in a proper soil structure, it's like a an I beam, right? The plate on top, plate in the middle, plate on the bottom, and it's in the area inside of that H or
Yeah.
I beam, if you want to look at it that way, that the biology it lives. It's where the water molecules are stored, and that's how you think. Okay, the biology is so tiny we can't see it with our eyes, yet they take this platelet of calcium and they stand it one up and how the hell that's got to be done by the magnetic
And
fields, and they must be
it's done by the
manipulating
magnetic
those
field.
magnetic fields.
It's done by the magnetic field. So
Yeah.
we are paramagnetic ourselves. Our bodies are paramagnetic. And it's made that way because so we can transfer energy throughout our body, right?
Yeah.
Not only throughout our body, but we have an electromagnetic field that surrounds our body.
Our
Everything,
aura.
right? Everything around us. If you look at trees, this earth has an electromagnetic field surrounding the earth.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, scientists were saying, well, it's either a wave or a particle. It's either a wave or a particle. It has to be one or the other. Well, guess what? It goes through. It can be transmuted from a wave to a particle. Usually, what my experience has been is that a particle rides the wave.
You need enough particles to create the wave.
Right, the particles create and they ride the wave. Right, exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's why you have the two together as one form. I see matter and energy as the same opposite ends of each other.
And don't forget to throw vibration in there too, which is part of the wave.
Right. So vibration is frequency, is sound. It's also translates to color.
And to energy.
I think we're done too, folks, right? I think I just got to notice that I passed my time.
Oh, we're just over the hour, guys. So no OGs on Monday and no Soil Matters on Monday. Andy and I will be back on the Wednesday, and then normal scheduling will come again on the beginning of January. And Mr. Invisible Gardener Andy Lopez mentioned Stefan Burns, who was the one talking about the particles with Leighton. He's actually our first show in the new year. He's coming back on. So you guys have some questions from that last show, then you're going to want to be around for the next one and ask him your questions then. Anyway, Ghetto Hippie, glad you showed up. Everybody, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
And go peace out, Andy, and I'm going to end the show.
Bye now. Take care, everybody.